I started to have a series of dreams with apocalyptic scenes. I was not understanding that by no means. Why is the world ending and collapsing all the time? And then there was a day when I had this dream, and this particular dream gave me the intuition I needed to understand what was going on. I would like to tell you a pocket version of the myth of Lilith. She is so controversial that her myth is blurred inside other myths. So she appears in a very subtle way in Genesis, in the first chapters of Genesis, as the first woman to make a pair with Adam. A few texts in the Genesis that suggest that there were a woman just before Eve. And these two specific points are two places in the Genesis where it is said that God created man and woman at the same time. And another part of the Bible, still in Genesis, it is said that God created Eve, and this time Adam liked what he saw. So if there is a this time, it's because there was before another time. Other texts are more clear when it comes to the myth of Lilith. These references are in the paradigm of sense, and an interesting fact is that the woman is not portrayed as a being that comes out of the man. It has its own independent origin, made out of earth, just like Adam was created from earth. And then once she's created, they started to have a relationship. And of course, it came to a point when it became a sexual relationship. And there was a day when Lilith decided that she wanted to be on top of Adam during their sexual relationship. And then Adam replied that he didn't want that because God had created man to be on top of the woman. Therefore, they should follow this direction and not change the natural way that God had created them. And Lilith did not like this answer. She decided she was created equal, so she could decide whether she wanted to be on the bottom or on top of their sexual relationship. And since Adam would not accept that, then she didn't want to live inside the paradise of Eden anymore, and she decided to leave the paradise on her own decision. So this is very important. Lilith was never ever expelled from paradise. It was her decision. And then after she left, Adam found out that she left, and he became very sad. And then Eve is created, and the story we know starts to happen. There is a continuation to the story of Lilith. After she leaves paradise, the paradise of Eden, she decides to go live with Lucifer, the demon, in a swamp. And when she arrives at this swamp, she becomes the goddess of diseases and pests. And after that, she starts to kill babies that were born and also make men impotent. God sends an army of angels to call Lilith back, to ask Lilith to go back to the paradise. Which is an interesting topic because God could only decide that once Lilith had rebelled and decided to leave paradise and go live with the demon, let her be there. Let her continue to be expelled from cosmic order. But, well, God does not do that. God sends an army to lead Lilith back into paradise. And by doing that, God betrays himself in the sense that he shows that he considered Lilith important. So important that he wants Lilith to go back into paradise. When that happens, Lilith says she's not going back. She doesn't want to go back. And they threaten her, say that if she doesn't go back, she might be destroyed. And then she says that she's going to be destroyed, but she's not going to go back in any way. And what happens after that is that the angels give up and they return without Lilith, and Lilith wins. God himself gives up, and again God betrays himself in the sense of considering her so important that he does not destroy her, even though she disobeys him in a very clear and strong way. So this is a very pocket version of the myth of Lilith. Now I would like to tell you the story of how Lilith came into my life. I had a case in my consultation room of a client that I could not understand her dreams, by no means. I doubted myself. I thought I was not able to understand what was going on. I was interpreting the dreams in a wrong way. I talked to my client about that, told her I was not able to understand what was happening with her. I suggested her to go look for another professional. She didn't want to. We insisted a little bit more, but I was still unable to understand what was going on. And then we both decided that it was the best decision not to continue. After that, I started to have a series of dreams with that terrible character of Silence of the Lambs, Hannibal Lecter, the cannibal. I had around 30 to 40 dreams in a 1 year period of time, and the dreams were very precise in showing the images of savage acts by Hannibal Lecter. And at that time, I was a very rational person. Hannibal Lecter is a character that the energy of the character is more in the head. So his eyes are very powerful. And even when he is a savage, he uses his mouth. So all the energy is in the head, where reason and intuition are considered to be located. And then after I found that out, after I understood I was too much in my head, using too much abstract modalities of consciousness, I started to have another series of dreams with apocalyptic scenes. Tsunamis, earthquakes, heavy clouds with huge storms and hurricanes passing over cities and destroying civilizations. Every type of apocalyptic scene would appear in my dreams. I was not understanding that by no means. Why is the world ending and collapsing all the time? And then there was a day when I had this dream, and this particular dream gave me the intuition I needed to understand what was going on. In this dream, I was in a parking lot of a shopping mall, and there was a strong moving light in this parking lot. And I knew, the dream informed that if this light would focus a man, that man would become impotent, sexually impotent. And of course, I didn't want that to happen to me. So I avoided that light with all my powers, with all my strength. I did everything I could to avoid that light. Very happily, I was able to not have that light over me, and the dream ended before I was hit by the light. But the key information in the dream was that the person who was controlling the light was a very powerful woman. And when I woke up from this dream, a few days later, I came across a book called Lilith, the Black Moon. And then I read the myth, and I saw that Lilith was a goddess responsible for making men impotent. I understood what the dream was telling me, and I finally understood that I was coming across a different archetype. Looking backwards, I understood that that client that I could not understand her dreams was dreaming with Lilith, and I could not understand the dreams because I did not know the archetype. I studied her myth in the most complete way I could before I could understand those dreams. And right after that, the series of dreams that opened the paradigm of sense started to happen.